This is a video about the brand new Godspeed You Black Emperor album. No title as of 13 February 2024, 28,340 dead. Music in protest of ongoing war around the world is not a new thing. Black Sabbath released the album Paranoid in 1970 to protest the ongoing Vietnam War. War by Bob Marley really just talks about arbitrary and sectional differences and how they're not that important. And Zombie by the Cranberries is about the ongoing troubles in Ireland and how they're really bad. Not only is music protesting war not a new thing in the music industry, making music revolving around world issues and war isn't a new thing to Godspeed You Black Emperor. Young Kui UXO, released in 2002, although very vague, is pretty much accepted to be about the September 11th attacks in America and the subsequent fighting in the Middle East. On this album, Godspeed You Black Emperor follows a very similar idea, making the entire album about this one specific war, this time it focusing on the ever-bubbling and growing conflict between Israel, Gaza, and Palestine. Godspeed You Black Emperor are one of my favorite bands, with their initial run of albums being some of my favorites of all time, those first three being really unbeaten. But this new strand of Godspeed You Black Emperor and this new era and this album is a very different beast. The album starts with about 5 minutes of deep guitar-driven ambience, and this low-key stuff is really Godspeed's second talent as opposed to their heavy and explosive stuff. And this song in particular creates a very tranquil and naive vibe. The second track is one of the best on this album, and it's more classic sounding Godspeed stuff with a big build-up, festering in its explosive middle section with violins, gliding guitars, and really weirdly jazz-esque drumming. The song ends with a second super heavy sounding section with drumming that's more like a marching band than anything else. So the songs Dead Spires at Capitol and Pale Spectator Takes Photograph basically create one song, so I'll talk about them as one song. It starts off with a super dark and depressing string section that sounds like it'd be the soundtrack to like an Edgar Allan Poe story. Really deep and guttural stuff with these strings, very low notes. After that, it goes into a section simply revolving around the kick drum hitting every couple notes and just other weird sounds and some high guitar notes coming around it. I really like this song and this part specifically because it sounds like being in the hypogeum of a coliseum, waiting to be thrown into the ring against your will to start fighting. And then the rest of the song sounds like that subsequent fight and either winning or losing. It takes about 4 minutes to transition out of this piece, and we get into a section still revolving around the kick drum basically, but with more guitar work and just more instruments revolving around it, making it more full as it goes on. Around 6 minutes in, we reach the apex of the song with the drummer using all of the drum set, making it more flowy, and this goes through to the end of the song. The whole piece is just dark, and it sounds lonely and depressing, and it's right in the middle of the album. It's the centerpiece of this album, and it's just what they were going for, to represent the atrocities of what war brings to people, and it works very well to just make you feel trapped. The final track on this album is definitely my favorite because the first part is just extremely dark and menacing. It literally sounds like a dark cloud, like impending doom hanging over the earth, just waiting to come down. Throughout the first 2/3 of the song, you're getting a lot of heavy, sharp guitar, very oddly catchy guitar riffs with little violin licks over this deep, heavy drumming. And then for the last 3 minutes of the song, for the last 3 minutes of the album, it's very calm. It's very nice and soothing, just like the start of the album. And it just sounds like the calm after the storm, watching the rubble settle after the altercation. As for the politics of this album, I have nothing to say. I think people should stop killing people. But I love this album, and I have a lot to say about it in terms of its music. Godspeed You Black Emperor are the best at creating this dark and otherworldly sound that impacts me more than any song with lyrics about this same event would. I think them leaning more into the eerie parts of their music works really well into the point they're trying to get across on this album. I think this album is a low 9 out of 10.